Hello, I'm the host of the Comeback Seat, and today in the seat we have Jackie. Hello,
Hello.
Jackie. I'm so excited to talk to you about your journey, your comeback, on all the stuff that you've been through, which is quite a bit. So you have several comebacks, but we'll try to narrow it down to a few. And I'm glad you're here today to talk to us.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here.
Tell us about Jackie, a little bit about you growing up with spinal bifida. Did I say it right?
Yeah, spina bifida. Yeah. So I was born with spina bifida, and so I have the most severe form. It's called myelomeningocele. There are three major types of it, and basically, the best way to explain it is like that I was born with a bulb of like nerves and my spinal column and stuff in like a bubble, but also it was like exposed when I was born. And so when I was a day old, I had to get surgery done to get it all kind of put back in. But because it had, already developed like that and everything, that is why the paralysis happened. And so, I used to walk a little bit with crutches and things like that when I was younger, but it is easier for me to get around in my chair. Whether it be going to the grocery store, when you're going to the grocery store, you have to pick up things and put them in a cart and push the cart and all the things. And that's a lot to do if your focus is on keeping you standing up, and then you have to think about the other people. And so I made the full transformation to my wheelchair, I think in like 2012 or something like that.
Okay, and how old were you when you
I was 2012. I was like 17, I think. Yeah.
So you were doing all that for 17 years, trying to walk and braces?
Yeah, kind of like back and forth of, like shorter distances or, I didn't do it full time. It was mostly shorter distances, and to keep that available to me, because I thought that was the best thing for me to be able to walk, but it's been kind of proven to not be necessarily, just because there are so many more things that I can do for my chair.
Yeah. And was that painful then when you were trying to walk, or did it get painful? You said short distances. When you did go longer, was it harder?
It was just that it was exhausting. Yeah. It took a lot of energy out of me, and, because, I'm thinking of the 12 different things that I have to do and also holding myself up. So,
exactly.
The mental exhaustion.
Sure. And how did your family raise you? I mean, obviously you're a beautiful young lady, but how did they support you and all of that? Did you have accessibility?
Yeah, so I have a twin. We're both born with spina bifida. Very rare. Usually when it comes to twins and disabilities, only one twin is affected. But special case, we were both affected. We are slightly different in terms in what we can do and what we cannot do. Or I guess like just more like muscles and stuff like that. Like she can do like a marching motion and I can't. But so, it's just like little things like that. But then our parents divorced when we were young. We did back and forth for a little bit. And then unfortunately our father passed when we were like 10. And then we were with my mom full time up until she passed away in 2023.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
And your sister, you're identical twins with just a few different
Yeah.
And what's her name, Jackie?
Jody.
Jackie and Jody. Okay.
Yeah.
We have my nieces are little twins, and you guys are a lot of work.
Yeah.
Twins are a lot of work, but so you and Jody are pretty close.
Yeah, we live together, and then we, do, every, like, pretty much our life together. The only difference is that um we definitely have our own friends and things like that.
Sure.
And so, just little things.
Yeah. And tell us about your journey as far as because you're advocating for mental health.
Mhm.
And when did your mental health change?
Yeah. So I had a medical emergency in 2018. I had gallstones that I was unaware of that turned into pancreatitis, then necrotizing pancreatitis. And then I had I 2 weeks before everything had happened, I had like flu-like symptoms, and I had two swollen SI joints, and like, so it was just kind of like, I was just a little bit sick. And I ended up playing in a wheelchair basketball game, summer league, like just, kind of pick up games, stuff like that. And so like up until then, it was kind of fine. And then uh, August 25th, 2018, I wasn't able to get out of bed. And my mom and my sister had decided that they were going to take me to the emergency room. And so I had somehow made it to at least the floor. And then we were trying to get me in my wheelchair. I couldn't get in it. My mom called my aunt to help because she wasn't able to help me. And my aunt came over, and my mom were trying to help me. And I remember them saying that they couldn't help me. And by that time, I was like already like fuzzy and things like that. And so then they ended up calling 911. And so when 911 came, I was unresponsive. And the last thing I remember actually is my aunt saying that they couldn't help me. And then where we were living, there was like this white, like, wood that was kind of like attaching like two of the rooms together in a way, in a sense, because they had extended our house a little bit that we were renting. And so that was the last thing I remember seeing. And then so I had gotten into the ambulance and everything. And so in between the hospital and in between getting in the ambulance and going to the hospital, I coded and was resuscitated. I know that I was resuscitated. No one told me that. Uh, when I like eventually kind of came to things, I literally looked at my mom and I said, "They shocked me." And so, I had this kind of like out of body experience, like seriously, where like I like felt it, I could see it happening and everything. Um, yeah. So they thought that I had almost a massive heart attack. And it was just that the gallstones had turned into pancreatitis and necrotizing pancreatitis. I had sepsis. I had a blood clot in my right leg. And just all those things, that just kind of, I don't want to say necessarily got written off, but maybe in a sense got written off because, the week before I'd been diagnosed with the two swollen SI joints and, that I was feeling sick.
So you had already gone to a clinic for for these symptoms, but they were misdiagnosing you, basically ignoring what was really going on with your body.
Yeah.
It sounds like you have 4 or 5 different things going on. And your body is saying, "No, I'm done fighting this infection."
Yeah.
Holy cow. So that was ignored. And then what happened? How long were you in the hospital for?
I was in the hospital for 7.5 months. I had a DNR signed about a month in. They said if I survived, I would never be the same. And so that, that the best option would be for if something were to happen while I was in the hospital to just kind of let me go. So
and that's
that
the
was,
doctor saying?
yeah. And so, I had the DNR and stuff, and, a couple, I was unconscious basically, like, I don't know if it was like a medically induced coma or if it was just kind of like that I was so severely out of it. But I was not awake or anything for a few months.
Mm. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Yeah.
And so, then 7 months later, you're feeling a lot better, I'm assuming.
Yeah. Yeah. I had tubes and all these things to kind of get everything out, like the gunk and all that. And then I had my gallbladder, the gallstones, and most of my pancreas removed. So I have 20 to 30% left of my pancreas.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
And did you have to go to rehab after this? Did you have atrophy, or did you have?
Yes. So I did do a inpatient rehab for, I think it was like a month. And it was good, and it had its pros and cons, but at the same time it wasn't what I needed. Like they were trying to like sand me up and just different things like that, instead of like teaching me how to transfer again, teaching me to sit up. And so that was very difficult. And I remember towards the end, so I was originally used to be released, I think like a month earlier than the 7.5 months. And my mom and my sister and the rest of my family kind of talking to staff, being like, so do you think that she's going to be able to take care of herself? Because she can't even transfer right now. And like, you know, meaning me and my sister, are very independent and we do things for ourselves. And just that it couldn't be only my sister available to help me, because other family was at work or things like that. We both weren't working at the time. And so, they were like, no. And then so it was kind of like, okay, then she needs to go somewhere where she can get additional help.
Right. Because like you said, you gotta learn the basics all over again.
Yeah.
And then is this where your PTSD started?
Not necessarily yet. So then after I got out of the hospital, they noticed that, like I was a little bit more kind of afraid of being alone. And like meeting my mom and my sister. And so my mom kind of thought that I had PTSD, and like we didn't really do anything. But then 2022, like the end of 22 happens, and my mom's diagnosed with cancer. And so then she's having all these procedures and all these things. And I am getting flashbacks of different things that have happened, because I've woken up in surgery before. I've had people not listen to me. I've been given medicine and not wanted the medicine, or just like felt funny because of the medicine, things like that. And so all this is happening. I'm working at the House of Blues in downtown Chicago. Yeah, it was fun. And then all of that started happening, and I couldn't, I felt like I couldn't do it anymore, yeah. And so May of 2023 was my first hospitalization. I had been speaking with a counselor for, I think, 4 months or something at that time. And she had told me, about this partial hospitalization. So it's like I would go to a program for like 6 hours a day or something, and then I would come out. And she said, go to the emergency room, get the information, and then you'll be good. Well, I went to the emergency room. I tried to get the information. They said, we'd like to keep you.
So was this suicide watch, or was this anxiety or mental, all the above?
Well, kind of all of the above, because I did say that I was suicidal, but I did say that, I was in, getting help and that I was, wanting information for the intensive outpatient program and things like that.
Yes.
So my first hospital stay, it was a lot. I remember being angry at this therapist, and I called her and I said, I did what you said. I'm now in the psych unit, and like just her answer was just like, I'm so sorry, we'll talk after you're out. Well, then when we talk when I'm out, it's you went to the hospital, you kind of got help, which I wanted to do, but I can't see you anymore.
Oh, why couldn't you see you anymore?
Well, we were virtual, and so I don't know if it's under her policies or if it's under kind of like counselor policies that the next interaction has to be in person. And she was not local. She was practice. Yeah.
Were you ready to move on to a different counselor anyways? I mean, it sounds like you guys got close for 4 months and then she said, sorry, I'm so sorry you're there, but let's talk when you get out. And that was.
Yeah. Yeah. In a sense, yes, but at the time I felt like no, just because it was like I had already told this person so much.
Yeah.
And just that I knew kind of what was coming and things like that, and I didn't want to start over. But yeah, I was forced to start over. So that was one.
You built a relationship with her, like you said. You got the trust issue. You relived a whole bunch, I'm sure, and had to share so much. And now you have to start over, which I think counseling and getting a therapist is the best tool for someone with mental health. But you got to find that right therapist, correct?
Yeah. But so then, I was diagnosed with PTSD, anxiety, depression, borderline, all those things. And, I then, was trying to find a new therapist. And at that point, because I hadn't been on medication, I had to find a psychiatrist, to continue the medication,
So you have to jump through all these hoops, adding more to your plate. Real quick, Jackie, what is borderline?
Borderline personality. Borderline is borderline personality disorder. So basically, it's kind of like extreme feelings one way or another. It's very characterized by black and white thinking, so kind of all or nothing thinking, attachment things, like so becoming very attached to things very quickly, people, and it's very trauma based. So, like either growing up with a lot of trauma or, in my case, kind of navigating a lot of trauma.
Right. And does Jody have this?
No.
No. Okay. So it's all piling on you, and you're just like, what's the problem? Let's go here.
Yeah.
Let's go do that. Okay. So at this point, did you find a psychiatrist then?
I did. I think yes. So I did, but so I had to go in to get an evaluation by someone to then get the psychiatrist referral. And they had told me that they were going to put it as like an urgent type thing. That didn't happen. So it was like 2 or 3 months later, and I was like, hey, I still need that psychiatrist, and I need help with the therapist. Like, can you help? Oh my goodness, they didn't put urgent on here. Okay. So I think it was like a month later, I finally like saw someone, and I still have the same psychiatrist to this day. But yeah.
They have been blessed with you. And so during this whole time, what is your faith? What is your, if you don't mind me asking, your faith? I've read some posts. I feel like you're a godly woman, but you tell us.
Yeah. So I grew up Catholic. I don't necessarily practice like by going to church or anything like that, but I do incorporate prayer and things like that when I feel like I want to and need to. And I just believe that also, there is, like, it sounds cliche, but there's kind of a reason for everything,
Yeah.
and then that there's someone watching out for us.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Because you've been through HELL and someone's been standing by you. Doctors don't determine your outcome. Only you can determine that. And I think for
Right.
myself, it's God and my willpower that determines what my outcome will be like. And you've had the opportunity to go out and speak with responders. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So that was a really cool opportunity that I've now had several times now. It was kind of through a friend through a friend, or friend of friend type situation. But so I go to the local police station and they have what they call CIT training, which is crisis intervention training. And so it is a lived experience panel. So we all come in and we kind of share our experiences with officers, or officers, first responders, all those things that we've had. So the other people that I've spoken with have dealt with drugs and other experiences that or one also had like, or a couple of them, sorry, has dealt with like the loss of a child. And so giving those lived experiences of how officers have responded to our crisis situations, and kind of giving them a perspective of, I think for me, it was, it was always like, yes, it may be again, I had an officer, kind of come in. I think it was like a month apart from each other. That one time I had two situations, and I believe it was the same officer. I don't know for sure, but the second time that they came in, they said again, but then also too, I know that they get kind of like a little cheat sheet before they come in that says like, hey, we've been to this place of these past experiences, and this is what we know about the situation. And so, just kind of also telling them that although it may feel like the same thing that they've dealt with maybe 20 minutes ago, maybe 2 days ago, maybe a week ago, whatever it is, it could be this person's first time dealing with it,
Yeah. Sure.
or or it could be just for me, I didn't drive at the time. And I didn't have anybody close to like drive me and things. And so it's just that I needed somehow to get there,
Yeah. Yeah.
And then two, I also kind of point out that sometimes it was taking an extended time for someone to get here. Yes, I don't have a gun, or I'm not maybe hurting myself exactly at that moment, or things like that, or I'm not bleeding, and so it would take extended times for them to get here. And so like I kind of point that out that, when I'm having these suicidal thoughts and stuff, that time is important, because I'm asking for the help and I want the help, but you're just coming in and being like, okay, regular day, what can I do for you? Instead of being like, that it's urgent, and I think that, it just kind of goes back to, and that goes back to, sorry, I had spoken with an officer that kind of said, I'm so sorry that happened to you, but, a lot of the crises that we go to, the person's already dead. And I said, so it's kind of like, going based on past experiences again,
Right.
you know?
And they're making you feel like you're an inconvenience.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how they should never make you feel like another number. They should never make you feel like you're an inconvenience. And then you were just telling them that I want you there before you go to a dead person's house, basically. You know, I want you just told me opposite than what I just explained to you, where I'm having dark moments right now and I need you to come quicker than, you know, I'm having my situation is just as important as the next situation, you know. So how did your message get received by them? Did they give you a standing ovation? I would be standing applauding you.
Yeah. You know, a lot of them really took it to heart. You know, they were like, you know, I never thought that, you know, I'm going into a situation thinking about the past situation, or just even the fact that, you know, it does become a routine. You know, just even us as humans, you know, we wake up, we may go get a cup of coffee and then read for an hour and then go to work, you know, but, you know, then we think nothing different of it. You know, it's the same thing for someone coming in and responding to a crisis. You know, it may be the same situation, but there may be a slight difference to it.
Sure.
You know?
And when you had these dark moments, Jackie, if you don't mind me asking, what were you feeling? I mean, it's either too late to ask someone or they don't share, but what were you feeling when you had these dark suicidal thoughts?
For me, it was always just that I wanted it all to stop. I you know, was dealing with the visions of different things that had happened in the hospital. I was dealing with just feeling empty, and not knowing what I wanted to do, I think, at that point. And just feeling stuck and like kind of in a cycle of, you know, okay, this memory is happening. Okay, this memory is happening, you know. And for a while, I can talk about this specific like trigger. For a while, when I would see an ambulance pass by with lights, full on meltdown,
Yeah.
you know. And so, you know, just even things like that, it was like I felt out of control, and I wanted control, because I think too there was also a part that was like you know, like the little voice in your head or whatever that's kind of like, you're gonna get through this, but it was like super microscopic versus like being a voice of reason. And so, and then too, I guess like it could have been a little bit bigger, just because like I did like reach out for help when I needed to and wanted to and things like that. But like just feeling those feelings were so intense, you know, and not that it is solved these days, you know.
Right.
But you know, it's a lot better.
Good. That is good. And when was your turning point? You do have dark days, I'm sure we all have those days, but what was your turning point of being so positive today? What was your turning point?
Yeah, I think it was being released from the hospital the last time. So I stayed for the last time in 2024, August 18th through August 28th. It was a 10-day stay. And you know, I kind of deal with anger a little differently. And I was leaving, and this nurse goes, "Bye, see you next time."
Oh
no. But you know, a few days before that, I was told by this nurse that I was prideful in my ability and that I needed to accept for help. I was just trying to go to the bathroom by myself.
Yeah.
You know. And then also too, I had a very bad day a couple days before that. I like somewhere in between those two events, and I was laying in bed, and I mean, I could hear someone like just like breathe, to be honest. Like, I was in my room, and like people were in the little mule, and I could just hear someone breathe. And then, like, I heard a pen drop and someone walking, and this nurse comes in. She's like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "No." And then I just remember looking at this blank wall in front of me, and like it looked like a bunch of TV screens. And it was just a series of the worst memories that I had,
Interesting.
and just playing on replay. And so, then I had gotten up at some point, like after I had gotten medication, I'd gotten upset again, and I ended up being restrained. Kind of drugged back to the room, put on the bed, put in 4-point restraints, given the booty shot in my arms, and kind of left there for a few hours.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yeah. So I say that all to say that, like, even though like all that happened, and like I had gotten all that help and stuff, that last moment interaction with that nurse like really just pissed me off, and I was like, I need to figure this out. And I think too that you get to a point where it's like you can be mad at the people around you, and you can be mad at the situation, but then you kind of have to like figure it out for yourself, at how you want to, move forward, and just take those series of choices.
Right. And Jody probably is so blessed to still have you here. I can imagine too, you lost your dad, you lost your mom, and then losing you would be so traumatic for her, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm so glad to see you today. Now, have you tried is it the 988, the suicide hotline number?
Yes. So I have tried 988. I've rolled into emergency rooms. I've called 911. I've done all, I've reached out to friends, like all the things. 988 for me was either a blessing or a curse, in a sense of either they gave tools and they were helpful, and it was good. But then there were other times it felt like it was just like, here's this article about how to take 5 deep breaths, and let me know how you're feeling in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And so, it did help in a way. I know I joke about it. It did help in a way where it was like, I looked at the article, like a couple days later, and kind of figured out how I could use it and things like that. But in certain moments, it didn't feel like sometimes that it was necessarily taken seriously.
Yeah. And what are your tools that you're using today for having those moments? What are the tools?
Yeah. I love being outside, especially now that it's nicer out.
Yeah.
I love being outside. So, I try to go outside for at least, 10, 15 minutes, but work schedule's a little crazy. So I do it when I can. And then I really like to paint. Do I have one of my paintings? No.
There's one behind your head. Did you paint that one?
Oh, no, this one right here. So I used to be a wheelchair basketball coach. And one of my players made that when she was like 10 or 12, something like that. She's now 20 and in college. But I still have it.
I love that. Well, you can also you can text me a picture, and I'll put it with your
Okay.
I want to see your artwork. I'm an artist myself, so I love creativity. But so you do nature and art. And then do you still go back to basketball? Do you still play basketball? Wheelchair basketball?
Not actively right now, but it is something that I am looking and getting back into. Just because it was a big part of my life. I've been playing since I was 8 years old, and I'm 31 right now.
Have you thought about the Paralympics?
Yeah. But those those athletes, those are the top athletes, and I'm good, but I'm not that good, but I appreciate the commitment and everything that they're able to do. It's a really cool experience, and I know a lot of them actually, that are currently on the team and stuff.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Well, what would you like to tell if there's a listener out there today that's in a bad situation, in a dark spot? Can you give them advice today? What would you tell them?
Yeah. I think it would be just kind of, figuring out for yourself, do you need to pay attention to any outside voices that are happening, or do you need to pay attention to the inside voices that are happening? Whether that be negative or positively, because people can help only so much, but it's really up to yourself to kind of reach out for help and work through things. No one can put a band-aid and say you're good from the bleeding. That would be crazy talk.
Yeah.
And just that it might not be tomorrow, it might not be next week, but there's still plenty of time for things to change, from where you're currently at.
Powerful, powerful, powerful. What is your goals, Jackie? What is the next steps for Jackie? What are your goals moving forward?
Oh, my goodness. So I am working on opening a nonprofit. I got my license in October of 25. I got a scholarship recently from Victoria's Victory, to modify my mom's old car. And so on Monday, I'm actually going to get the modifications put in. So, just kind of driving myself around is a very big goal. And then just kind of, I have this thing. It says later 2025, hello 2026. It's something that I worked on with a coach. And, taking into 2026, it says my commitment to staying alive and present. I make choices that prioritize safety, well-being, notice triggers, and act before they escalate, and fully embrace each day.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
And what do you have tattooed on your arm?
Which one? There's
you have a lot, but what is the one? Right? Yeah. What does this say? Right here. I know you have the non-response. Yeah. What does that say?
Okay. It says the real versions of ourselves, the honest ones, are far more valuable than the masks we wear.
I like it. I like it. I like it.
Yeah.
Well, I sure enjoy having you here today, and I look forward to, I don't know, did you want to talk about your nonprofit? Did you want to expand on that, or do you want to wait on that? What do you want to do? It's up to you.
Yeah. I could a little bit. Sorry. So my nonprofit's goal is to kind of create experiences for individuals that have experienced trauma, whether that be medical trauma, family trauma, things like that. So when I think of it, in a sense, so it's through empowerment shoots and storytelling. And so in 2024, I had I booked a shoot with a photographer. It was a boudoir shoot. Boudoir is seen as like a sexy shoot. It doesn't always have to be sexy. It's just really about self empowerment, self expression, things like that. And it really changed my thoughts and my process with a specific memory that I have. So I have a memory of someone coming in. They believe it was a hallucination from anxiety medication I was given when I was in the hospital for the 7.5 months. So a man came in and was asking me to wear sexy outfits.
Goodness.
Yeah. And so through the shoot, I saw my body again, with the scars and things like that. But, I finally saw it with, for me, it was the sexy outfit. I finally saw myself like that instead of like seeing it as like someone is asking me to do these things and stuff.
Yeah.
But so in terms of the nonprofit, it can be like things like medical trauma or like domestic violence, So for my thought with that is, maybe someone doesn't have a family photo with the person that was like attacking and things like that. And so just kind of letting people share their story and see themselves like they either haven't seen themselves before or just kind of reclaiming.
Got it.
Yeah.
And you had, it's called, you had visibility, voice, validation, visibility, validation. Those words are powerful for you,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And that's basically what you're letting people or wanting to help people have a voice, have validation.
Yeah. So I guess like I should, but I want to talk about kind of like the background of the name. So the name is The Miracle Speaks. So I know that you had Sarah Foley on here like a month ago or something. So Miracle is my iconic identity. And so
I was on there too. Did you just do a seminar with her? And it was all virtual.
Yeah, so I did that recently, but I have worked with her in the past on various things. But so that's my iconic identity's name, and it was created because so the characteristics behind it is like no limits, strength, soulful, light, high vibration. And so when I came up with Miracle, when I was originally kind of going through things like, so, like speaking to the officers and things like that, I thought that I was going to kind of have like not more speaking opportunities, but just kind of like I was going to go into speaking, so it was going to be Miracle Speaks, and then when I decided to go more with like a group type vibe and stuff, it changed to The Miracle Speaks. So it's kind of like, so it's based on the iconic identity and then just based, on my own miracles that happen, surviving everything.
Absolutely. I'm so glad you were connected with Sarah Foley, and I'm so glad you have this new vision. And I think it's going to be healing too, a healing process.
Yeah.
And diving into something this important to people and helping people is I can tell it's your passion.
Yeah.
Well, good. I'm so excited for this. I'm excited to watch. I'm excited to see it grow too. I know it's just starting out and you're going to be very successful and you're going to grow with it. And I think more people need to, responders don't know everything, and to hear how impactful they are and how amazing they truly are. But there are some times when they need to be checked too,
Yeah.
And what have you. But Jackie, thank you so much for being on the comeback seat and being in the seat today. I think you've helped a lot of people. Yeah. Since we talked about mental health, I had to do a disclaimer real quick, and then I'll sign off, and then you and I will just wrap it up.
Sounds good.
Okay. The information shared on this podcast is for educational and inspirational purposes only. It is not medical, psychological, or professional advice. Always consult with a qualified professional before making changes to your health, mindset, or lifestyle. You are responsible for your own decisions, actions, and results. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't, and always do what's best for you.